is the cleanest of clean finishers from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behaviour.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Football is back nearly a full year after the rest of the world, and our detractors will say, what a shambles. But there are those that will say, slow and steady does it. We got there in the end. And on the home front is the Independence Cup. It's on Sunday. It's Yiboso Highlanders making the trip into the capital to take on their arch rivals Dynamos Chazunguza and Boso. Coach Mandla Mpofu Lulu is thrilled at the return of Joel Jostangozo to the Bulawayo football giants, saying the skillful midfielder will add a new dimension in his attack. But there are questions to be asked of Ngozo. Is he fit? Is he overweight? Does he still have it? Remember, he's the reigning soccer star of the year.
2 years.
For 2 years, he has arguably the longest reign in Zimbabwe football. But he'll be looking to answer those questions versus Dynamos this weekend. Just 1 week of trading under their belt. We're not expecting much, but we'll celebrate the fact that the football is back. And here to celebrate with me, we got Barry Menandi and Chris Midzi. Chris, you looking forward to this one?
Absolutely. I think it's just, first of all, the momentous occasion that football is back in the country. We have two of our biggest teams. It's going to be exciting.
Barry, we're celebrating that football is back, but the fans certainly won't be back.
The fans won't be back in the empty stadium. So we're all going to be tuned in through ZBC TV. Have a look at what's on offer. Bit of truth. There won't be a fair reflection of these teams, but still, like you quite rightly point out, the two of you, football is back.
That is the story that leads the way on tonight's edition of ZiFM Sport. We also have international sports news for you. Rugby. The Highlanders kept their slim hopes of making the Super Rugby Aotearoa final alive with a pulsating 35-29 win over the Auckland Blues in Dunedin this morning.
We're going to have more international sports news for you. Getting ready for the weekend when we take you around the world in 60, starting off in the Principality of Monaco, where Stefanos Tsitsipas is into the semi-finals of the Monte Carlo Masters for the first time in his career after defeating Davidovich Fokina, who was forced to retire in the second set due to injury. In Italy, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas say they're excited for the rare chance to be Formula One hunters as the world champions Mercedes insist challengers Red Bull will lead heading into the Italian Grand Prix as favourites this weekend. And in India, Royal Challengers Bangalore skipper Virat Kohli has been reprimanded after hitting a plastic chair with his bat following his dismissal during an Indian Premier League match. Temper.
Then it's time for the play of the day, Fire Friday. Then we dive into the beautiful game, and we'll begin with a wrap of the Europa League quarter-final action last night, where Edin Dzeko scored a crucial equalizer to help Roma edge past Ajax and set up a Europa League semi-final with Manchester United. In England, dreams of a continental and domestic double will end for Chelsea or Manchester City this weekend as the two sides lock horns in tomorrow's FA Cup semi-final at Wembley Stadium in London. In Spain, the two most successful teams in history of the Copa del Rey will meet in the final tomorrow night as Athletic Club, based in Bilbao, take on Barcelona. And there's also plenty of action in Serie A, the Bundesliga and Liga, and all making for a crackerjack edition of ZiFM Sport.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
0731-168-045. That's our WhatsApp number, 0731-168-045. If you're a Dynamos or Highlanders fan, you want to get in early with your predictions. Who carries the day at the National Sports Stadium at the Independence Cup that features those two giants, Dynamos and the Highlanders? And they haven't had much training, and so we don't expect the quality of football to be high, but we are hoping that there will be goals. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter at ZiFM Sport. That's the handle you need to follow and interact with. And it's straight to that story. We're ahead of the Independence Cup on Sunday. Highlanders coach Mandla Mpofu is thrilled at the return of Joel Jostangodzo to the Bulawayo football giants, saying the skillful midfielder will add a new dimension in his attack. Mpofu said if all goes well, the new players could take part in the Uhuru Cup versus Dynamos at the National Sports Stadium. Let's hear from Mandla Mpofu.
We are just delighted, we are excited, we are back on the field of play. We have started our preseason pretty well. We, of course, with a very, very, very short time, considering that we are preparing to play Dynamos on Sunday, Uhuru Cup, a very important cup. As you know, again, the history between the two teams, both teams have got rich history. I know that the players are not 100% fit. Some are not even 50% fit. But it's a game that's going to be exciting, considering the history about the two teams. Our supporters out there, they really want us to beat Dynamos. Whether we train 2 days, whether we train 2 hours, whether we did not train, if we go into the field of play against Dynamos, they want Highlanders to beat Dynamos. Of course, as I said, that I've got 6 players that came into our squad, but unfortunately, one player, Toto Banda, that we took from ZPC, got injured yesterday, so he's not traveling with the squad. But the 5 who is Winston Mango, experienced player from FC Platinum, was in Zambia. Joel Ngozo is available. Crispin Ngube available. Andrew Tandu available. So is Prishad Mbelele, who we took from Manica, is available. We hope these guys, they will come in and gel as quickly as possible with the other guys and form a formidable team going forward.
Mandla Mpofu rattling off the new players to the Highlanders fold, Barry, that will be available. The likes of Pritchard and Pelele, former Chicken Inn, and How Mine winger. That's Toto Banda. He's not going to be available. But Crispin Ngube will be available. Andrew Tandy will be available. Jostangodzo is going to be available. So it's going to be something of a new look Highlanders, isn't it?
New look Highlanders. Also, potentially, my goodness, I wish these guys were fit because they're very exciting Highlanders as well. Because you look at the robustness that they've got potentially at the back. They've got young Andrew Mbeba, who could stand next to Peter Mudua, who, when both fit, would be a formidable pairing. In front of them, you could have either Ngo Masuku or you could have Winston Mango, and you then got that solidity that Highlanders sorely needs, because we know going forward they're always an exciting prospect. Yeah, very exciting prospect. But when I take a look at the business they've done, Chris, Highlanders has always been exciting. Even in their poor seasons, Highlanders will entertain, they'll excite fans. But have they addressed the issue of goals? Because where Highlanders has fallen short in recent seasons is that there's not been the goal to complement their exciting play. They look like they haven't invested in a recognized striker. They haven't necessarily invested in a recognized striker, and I think they're also going to really feel miss the services of Prince Dube, who now we know is playing outside the country. But I think creating that squad and being able to go into this season with that kind of a squad, they're going to need a full team effort, and they might actually be playing in a formation where they don't necessarily need that gunman out in front, so they might switch things up. But I think in terms of the business that they've done, they've managed to get some solid players, and these players have experience, which I think is going to be really key when you don't necessarily have time to gel this squad. They haven't had time to really prepare for the season, but you've got experienced campaigners who are able to do the business. Talking about experience, Barry, Peter
Mdua, none more experienced than him as a centre-half, arguably in the league and perhaps the best defender in Zimbabwe. Sure. They'll be happy that his stint with Simba is over and he comes back to join Highlanders just in time for the start of the new season, if there's going to be any.
Yeah, and he might be the fittest man on the pitch because he's been training. Unfortunately, he didn't get any game time out at Simba. Look, we won't call it a misadventure at this stage, but we will certainly say that it didn't go according to plan out in Tanzania. Nonetheless, a good experience. He learned something, no doubt, and also he's got a relative degree of fitness under his belt. So certainly one interesting to watch. I think that Lulu can play him straight from the start because of the experience that he's been having in Tanzania. There's no need to sort of blood him in and wait to see what he's got under his belt. He's easily the fittest guy in that team.
Well, we've talked about Dynamos quite a lot this week, mostly in a controversial manner. You know, what's happening off the field as...
holistically, I would say.
What's happening off the field of play has grabbed the headlines, and it looks like Dynamos, as per their tradition, in truth, is a club in disarray. But we know that Dynamos, when they have their backs to the wall, are probably at their most dangerous and are a team not to be discounted. Let's get the pre-match thoughts of Dynamos coach Tonderai Ndiraya, who is a man under pressure.
I think as Dynamos Football Club, we always strive to win accolades, and no matter form or how that competition is going to be played, our ultimate goal is to win that competition. So this game on Sunday is really going to give us a hint of what is to be expected when the real competition begins. Not that I want to diminish the importance of the Uhuru Cup, but I think I've said that look, we are in the early phase of our pre-season, so really we are not really expecting much from the boys at the weekend. But by the time we start the real competition in May, our boys will have some decent or some measurable form of fitness, and we should be able to compete then. But expect a very different Dynamos this year. I think we have very dynamic and exciting players within our squad now, and our fans should be really in for a treat.
Tonderai Ndiraya, they're embracing the challenge. Chris, talking about the fact that Dynamos is expected to win matches like this, whether they've trained or not, whether there's off-the-field disruption or not. Dynamos are simply expected to show up when they're up against their arch-rivals and perform.
Yeah, and I think that's what comes with wearing that uniform, is being able to, under any circumstances, being able to get the goals, being able to walk away with the matches. And I think Tonderai Ndiraya going into this, first of all, excited to finally get some game time, but at the same time, Dynamos has done some good business. So I think he's excited to see exactly what his new prospects are going to be able to do when they're tested against their arch rivals. And those new prospects are the likes of Trevor Mavunga, Frank Makarati, a defender I like so much, the former captain of Ngezi Platinum Stars. Tinashe Makanda was with Highlanders, very exciting player. Newman Sianchali, former Wange, former Highlanders, former Caps United, now with Dimbare. Bit of a journeyman. And then, of course, Luke Maskiri. We also hear that they've got shopping Bulawayo Chiefs. They've nicked one of their players, but we'll get to Shadrach Nyakwa a bit later, Barry. I want to talk about the recent training game, Barry, that Dynamos had, where they played Cranbourne Bullets. And you'd have thought that, you know what, Dynamos too strong, a bit too powerful for Cranbourne Bullets, but they struggled to get goals in that game. And I think they played 2 games and they scored 1 goal. Are they facing the same problem as Highlanders? And also Tonderai Ndiraya, in his last season in charge of Ngezi Platinum Stars, the goals dried up.
They did, and in truth, you've got a situation there whereby, again, like Highlanders, they don't have a recognised striker. You can't see where the goals are going to come from. You can see where the entertainment value is going to come from, where the creativity is going to come from in some instances, but you can't see where the where the goals are going to come from, especially given that I'm not sure about the contract situation of Albert Yonde. He might be available for this game. I know he's in the country, but I'm not sure if he's going to be available long term. I know he was looking for a move away from the Glamour Boys. He goes, I think the goals definitely dry up. But you're quite right. I think they're facing the same problem as Highlanders.
A bit of a goalkeeping crisis, isn't there, at Dynamos, Chris? That's something that they're going to have to think long and hard, at least over the next 48 hours about, because not many options.
Not many options. I think from what we talked about this week, they've lost Simba Chinani, but at the same time, Munya Diaz also not going to be providing his services for Dynamos. And then the only person they have is former Wange player Taimon Vula, and he was roped in last year. I'm not sure if those are the kind of skills you need for a setup this good. It's almost like everywhere else is fine, and then they've got a bit of a crisis right at the back.
But the Independence Cup has been a competition where we've seen the emergence of some of the nation's leading goalkeepers in years gone by. Remember Tapua Kapini. Not many knew about him until he was given the opportunity for Highlanders in that cup final, giving Brito Guerre a bit of a rest back then, and he actually stepped up, performed, and he took over the number 1 jersey, and he became one of the finest goalkeepers that Highlanders and the nation has ever seen.
It's interesting that you say that, because we understand that Dynamos has been looking at Golden Eagles shot stopper Jeffrey Chitsumba, who in fact they seem quite interested in. So who knows, he might get a run on Sunday.
Well, that has to be true, isn't it? If the Golden Eagles president himself is going to be the one who's telling us the news, then it must be true that Dynamos are shopping, and they have been knocking on the door of Golden Eagles Football Club. Well, that is the big game of football. It is the only game locally, and I'm not going to ask for any predictions, guys, because I really don't expect a quality performance from teams that have not been training at all. Coming up, we got your local sports news roundup just in a minute, and then international sports news, where we take a look at Super Rugby Aotearoa. A game played this morning. The Highlanders back in the mix.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Z.
Let's start our local sports news roundup with cricket, where the Tuskers have been crowned the domestic T20 champions following their emphatic 80-run victory over the Eagles in the final played at Old Herrerians this afternoon. Craig Irvin's fine knock of 65 and Sean Williams' 50 propelled the Tuskers to a commanding innings total of 179 for 6. Chasing 180 to win, the Eagles were torn apart by Ainsley Ndlovu, who picked up 5 wickets as the Eagles were bowled out for 110 with 5 overs remaining. On to rugby news. The Zimbabwe Rugby Union remain hopeful that the Sables will be granted yet another dance at the SuperSport Challenge Cup, with the board still eyeing an invitation for this year's or the 2022 edition, with the SuperSport Challenge having given the Sables just the right platform they needed in order to fine-tune for the Victoria Cup. The ZRU are stopping at nothing to try and secure a berth at this year's competition. Local rugby has been hampered by a long COVID-19 induced break, which has meant that the opportunity to be registered in some tournaments has been lost. We'll wrap it up with horse racing news. Indingwe is expected to continue with his fine form when she lines up. Now, what sex is?
Yes, what is Indingwe? Is it a she or
his fine form when she lines up? I'm going to assume she's a filly.
It's just a horse. Let's just call it a horse and move on.
The horse, exactly. I'm going to assume it's a filly. So Indingwe is expected to continue the fine form when it lines up.
When the horse lines up.
For the 2,000 meters Zimbabwe 2000 grade 3 race at Borrowdale Park Racecourse on Sunday. The race is the second leg of the Triple Crown. The Kirk Swanson stable runner is also on the verge of bagging 2021 Triple Crown tiara after she won, yes, she's a filly, the Phillies Classic and the Silver Slipper earlier in the year. Indingwe is now
Silver Slipper must be male.
No. Indingwe is now left with the Zimbabwe Oaks to be assured of bagging the tiara. At the moment, Indingwe is the only 3-year-old in Zimbabwe who could win both the Triple Crown and the Triple Tiara. The joys of live radio.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. international sports news roundup, where the world comes out to play.
All right, it's time for us to look at Super Rugby Aotearoa, and the Highlanders are back in the mix. Today is there's a Highlanders theme, isn't it?
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
The show. And I suppose in the Highlanders theme, let's go to Scotland, where we want to wish Chris Meads' sister, Tawanda, a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. We're not going to sing, are we, Mike?
No, we're not. We're not going to sing.
Happy birthday, many long years. God bless you, and have a fantastic day. Hopefully you had a fantastic day. It's about the end of that day. Right, let's go to the Highlanders of Rugby after talking about the Highlanders in football. Now, the Highlanders kept their slim hopes of making the Super Rugby Aotearoa final alive with a pulsating 35-29 win over the Blues in Dunedin this morning. The Highlanders scored 5 tries to 4 in an end-to-end game as skipper Aaron Smith marshalled his team superbly after committing an early error to give the Blues the lead. Let's hear from the winning skipper, Aaron Smith.
Oh, it's unbelievable, We've been struggling a bit at home, which is a bit disappointing, but hell of a performance tonight from our boys. We found something a couple of weeks ago within this team against the Crusaders. We fought really hard against the Chiefs, but I just feel real proud of our effort tonight around nailing the little things, capitalising on opportunities. We know we've got the strike power in us off set piece if we can get in the right areas, and then as we saw with the Blues, though, their attacking ability, their ability to find gaps is pretty hard. But I was really happy we were able to play an up-tempo game tonight, try to run them around a bit. But yeah, really just proud of nailing those little key moments. I don't know mathematically about what happens, but just real proud.
You know what? I'm glad he used the word unbelievable, because, Mike, if you look at Aaron Smith's performances lately for the Highlanders, he has been unbelievable, not only as a leader, but also as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. His talent has never been in doubt. I mean, he's the best scrum half in world rugby.
Well, easily.
And now there's a certain maturity to his game. And you talked about the leadership. That's also coming to the fore, because he would just be considered just a couple of seasons ago as one of the senior players on the basis that he's been there for a very long time in and around the All Blacks as well as the Highlanders setup. And now he's risen to a leadership position at his franchise, and he'll definitely be part of the leadership core in the national team. And so he's one of the players definitely that's been instrumental in the big performances that we've seen from Otago in the last couple of weeks, and they've come to the fore, the Highlanders, and they're basically just making sure that they keep the teams above them honest heading into the business end of the competition, because remember, this season there's a final, so it's about making sure you're one of the top 2 teams and then giving it a stab in the final. It's not just about finishing first the way the competition was structured last season.
And it's all you can do, isn't it, Chris? Because the Highlanders have put themselves in a position whereby they could realistically be in that final. Yes, they still need results to go their way, but you look at them and you think to yourself that if things possibly they get the rub of the green, they could be in that final.
They could be in that final, and just taking a look at their most recent performances, like you guys were talking about, they could definitely be in that final. I think what's key is what Aaron Smith was talking about in that clip, is being able to win those critical moments, because there's not major differences in terms of quality of these teams, but what the Highlanders are managing to do is to win those key moments, game in, game out, and if they continue to do that, we're going to see them in those top 2 teams.
And one of the things that will give them belief is that they were able to beat the team that they're fighting for that place in the final, and that is the Auckland Blues. And so if the teams above them carry on playing inconsistently, or at least displaying the level of indiscipline that we saw from Auckland this morning, where they had a yellow card and then they had a red card in that game, then it gives the Highlanders belief that they can get into the competition. And they'll be keeping one eye on the other game that will be played this weekend. The Chiefs, who are playing some really good rugby up against the Crusaders. If there's an upset in that game, it means everything's going to be nice and bunched up.
Everything to play for the Highlanders. They have 3 wins from 7 matches in the New Zealand competition. They can still make the final, but as we continue to say, they need results to go their way. Mike talked about the discipline or indiscipline or lack thereof of the Auckland team, that is the Blues. Now their skipper Otere Black agrees. He laments the lack of discipline, which saw his side awarded a yellow and a red card.
It was a tough game. We're probably our own worst enemy tonight. Our discipline wasn't good enough, and Highlanders, the quality side that they are, they capitalised on that. So back to the drawing board for us. We'll take the loss, we'll take the learnings out of this, but we've got to move on pretty quickly.
Coming off a bye, is it hard to sometimes get a gauge on where you're at? Did you feel the intensity was there?
Oh yeah, definitely. The intensity is definitely there. You have to be in this competition. It's so brutal, it's so tough, and it's so quick. So if you don't turn up with the right attitude, no matter who you play, it's going to be a tough night. So unfortunately for us, we had the intensity there at times, but I think just discipline probably let us down.
Now, every time we announce that the Blues have lost, Mike looks at our producer Sean and does a nudge, wink, wink. Exactly, because they're Blues supporters. And you got to say to yourself, an aspect of the game that we normally do not associate with the Blues in discipline is exactly what we're finding here. Is pressure, Mike?
Yeah, listen, you got to think that it's a bit of pressure on them, but also these things do happen.
Yeah.
So they're going to have games and days like this, but it's all about the bounce back ability. We saw the Crusaders, when they lost, they were able to bounce back in a very difficult encounter last week versus the Hurricanes and get the job done in extra time. So it's all about the next game for the Blues. How are they going to respond to this latest setback? Because on the table, they've got the slight advantage right now, a 1-point lead over the Highlanders, but they've played a game less. So they can make that advantage count by winning. Any sort of win. You know, it doesn't have to be a bonus point win. They just have to win their next game, and then that gap again will start opening between them in second and the chasing pack.
The great thing is that the Highlanders are giving us certainly a conversation to have about who will be in that final, because they are keeping the teams above them absolutely honest. There is a match tomorrow, and it is potentially a good... In fact, all the games in New Zealand usually are good games. It's the Crusaders taking on the Chiefs in Hamilton. It's a marquee fixture because the Crusaders will celebrate a big milestone with halfback Mitch Drummond set to become the 20th Crusader to play 100 games for the club. And then don't forget, there's another exciting little twist whereby Damian McKenzie will be moving to fly half for tomorrow's game, and that should make for a very, very entertaining affair. He's got happy feet and certainly can put it over the post when given an opportunity from any sort of yardage. In Australia, Super Rugby AU weekend fixtures look like this. Force take on the Waratahs, and then the Rebels will take on the Brumbies.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off from the Principality of Monaco, where Stefanos Tsitsipas is into the semi-finals of the Monte Carlo Masters for the first time in his career after defeating Davidovich Fokina, who was forced to retire in the second set due to injury. Tsitsipas had clinched the first set 7-5 before Fokina called time on the quarterfinal clash with a left quadricep injury. The semi-finals of the Monte Carlo Masters will be played tomorrow before the final on Sunday. In Italy, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas say they are excited for the rare chance to be Formula One hunters as world champions Mercedes insist the challengers Red Bull will head into the Italian Grand Prix this weekend as favourites. Bottas also stated that Red Bull were particularly faster than Mercedes through the higher speed corners, of which there are many at the iconic Imola circuit. And we'll touch down in India, where Royal Challengers Bangalore skipper Virat Kohli has been reprimanded after hitting a plastic chair with his bat following his dismissal during an Indian Premier League match. Kohli made 33 in Bangalore's second successive win this season after they edged out Sunrisers Hyderabad by 6 runs in Chennai on Wednesday. This weekend, the Royal Challengers Bangalore will be chasing a third win on the spin when they face Kolkata Knight Riders in one of the standout fixtures.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
It is the beautiful game on ZiFM Sport, and don't forget to keep your messages coming on our WhatsApp number. We are also digital. Twitter, follow and interact with at ZiFM Sport. I did promise a quick Europa quarterfinal wrap is coming up, but Baz, what do the people say?
Oh, that's all about the Uhuru Cup, and most of them are a little bit disillusioned about what they potentially could see tomorrow. However, predictions are coming in. Boso 2, Dynamos 1. We're happy that Josta is back home. There's possibilities that he could extend the Player of the Year award because he wants to prove that Boso is home. That's Tembanyoni, of course, in Bulawayo.
Surprise, surprise.
Exactly. DJ Bongs in Eastleigh. DJ Bongs, how you doing? Long time. This one says we will beat Boso 3-0. So he's a Chazungu's a fan, obviously. Anthony Masinya in G-Town says Dynamos 2, Highlanders 1.
Okay, let's get into European football now. Edin Dzeko scored a crucial equaliser in a 1-0 draw to help Roma edge past Ajax of Amsterdam 3-2 on aggregate in a thrilling Europa League second leg encounter last night. Dzeko has now scored 30 European goals for Roma since joining from Manchester City in 2015. Good player, big player, had a knack of scoring really important and crucial goals, Barry, during his time at Manchester City, and it looks like he may be doing the same thing again at Roma in this very open Europa League.
He has, and in truth, I feel that he left Manchester City prematurely. I think that he potentially could have been maybe not neck and neck, but certainly there or thereabouts on the level of your Sergio Aguero, because he was delivering goals for them and continues to score. You don't lose the knack of scoring as a striker, and he certainly hasn't. Look at that important goal that he scored last night.
Now that win by Roma, setting up a semi-final against Manchester United, and of course United 2-0 winners versus Granada last night, meaning that they advanced on a 4-0 score on aggregate. Other results saw Ajax put Slavia Prague to the sword, 4-0. Fantastic win for the Gunners after a couple of weeks during which they were under all sorts of pressure. Villarreal, they did the job as well, and they won 2-1. And you know, you just take a look at that performance by Manchester United, Chris. Very comfortable it was last week on the road. Similarly comfortable again this time. And so Manchester United get into the semi-finals high on confidence.
Getting to the semi-finals high on confidence, and I hope that this bodes well for Manchester United. Manchester United is full of surprises, so we'll see what happens. But for now, I think they've got some good confidence, and they're going to keep these wins going.
Arsenal 4-0. Did that surprise you, Barry? Because, you know, after that very sluggish performance at home, they did the job and very convincingly playing some really good football.
What they need to do is grab the chef who made their pre-match meal. He needs to feed them that every single match.
Wear the same kit as well. If they were an African team, they would not stop wearing the same kit.
Mate, they looked fantastic last night. Could do no wrong. Created chances even beyond the 4 that they scored. So I think that this Arsenal is where potentially the manager is looking at getting them to. It hasn't happened as quickly as he'd have hoped. Maybe a transfer window might help, but certainly I think going forward we're going to see that this sort of Arsenal showing up day in, day out.
Well, their road to Gdansk, Chris, has managed to sidestep Manchester United and Roma, who were two of the tough sides left in the competition. It takes them into Spain to take on Villarreal, and they'll be happy about that.
I think they'll be happy about that. If you take a look at who else they could have faced, I think getting into the semi-finals and facing Villarreal, I think they'll definitely fancy their chances, especially off the back of that 4-0 performance, brilliant performance by Arsenal. It's definitely a good opportunity for them going into that semi-final.
Those two semi-finals, Manchester United versus Roma, and then it's Villarreal taking on Arsenal.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudence. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's go to England. Both Everton and Tottenham Hotspur will be looking to give their hopes of finishing in the top 4 a boost when they meet at Goodison Park in the Premier League tonight. And Mike is scrambling for his phone so he can sort out his fantasy team. We're on a show. We're trying to do a radio show, Michael.
Shucks! None of you guys told me.
Mate, I myself forgot, but I'm going to wait for 7 o'clock and then sort out my fantasy team. If you haven't sorted yours out as you listen to the show, why don't you do exactly that? Now, Everton, they're currently 8th on the table, 7 points behind 4th place West Ham United, while Tottenham occupy 7th position, 6 points off the Champions League positions. Let's get the pre-match thoughts of both managers ahead of the match tonight. Carlo Ancelotti and then the special one. Is he still so special? Jose Mourinho.
No, I think it's vital. I think, but all the 8 games that we have to play are vitals, because we have to play against teams that are fighting with us for that position. So it will be important against Tottenham, but also the other games. They don't have less importance. They are important at the same. We have to get more points as possible. I think that to judge our season, we have to wait the end of the season. Yes, I said could be a fantastic season if we are able to reach Europe. Could be a good season. We are not able to do this.
No, we are very close to each other, but there are more clubs around. There are some more with a few more points than us. There are a few others with a few less points than us. But I think with still more than 20 points on the table, I think it's still open. But of course, it's this kind of match where the winner gets the points and stop the loser to get them. Or if you draw, you stay basically in the same position. So understandably, I don't think anything is going to be decided in there. But of course, if one of the two teams wins, gets an advantage that can be important in the direct duel, not in relation to all the others that are around, but between Everton and Tottenham, if one team wins, of course, gets an important advantage to the other.
Let's start with the Portuguese mentor, since we listened to him last, Chris. And you've got to say to yourself, he's under a bit of pressure because, in truth, the results haven't gone his way. Some have already written him off the European places. Nothing is ever done until the fat lady has sung, in footballing terms. But it's going to be very difficult. And he's got to start by tonight getting a result.
He's going to start by tonight getting a result. He definitely needs to get a result to alleviate some of that pressure and some of that doubt around his capabilities and, of course, around the team itself. So it's absolutely critical for them to win tonight. But Everton themselves haven't had a good run of form. There was a time when we were talking about Everton in that top 4 conversation, but because of such a poor run of results, they're not really in that conversation anymore. So it could go either way, but Jose Mourinho definitely needs to get a win here.
It was mainly the injuries to players like Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin being unavailable for Carlo Ancelotti, and he wasn't able to pick the side, his best side. And he's one of those managers who likes to stick to the plan. The plan has been slightly derailed by the amount of games that are coming. And you've got to say to yourself that if he can pick his side, it'll be a competitive match, and in fact, he'll be right in there, probably even money to take a result tonight.
That's why it's a squad game, Barry.
Yeah.
If you could say the same to many players, Liverpool tell you that would probably be defending champions if we had all our players. And so, to be honest,
if my brother was a girl, he'd be my sister.
Yeah, exactly. So let's not use that as an excuse.
Sure.
It's a squad game. You get to register as many as 33 players that you can give a run out in the Premier League. Understandably, obviously, the quality sort of like peters away after you've registered your 21st player, and then you're really down to the bare bones.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge for Everton heading into next season, just basing by what has transpired over the last couple of months, is that they need to strengthen their squad and they need to have options. So it can't be about Calvert-Lewin. You've got to have a backup striker who, when Calvert-Lewin is suspended, is off form, is unavailable, you're able to lean on him. It can't just be about the likes of James Rodriguez scoring goals from midfield. You've got to have someone who's going to be stepping into the breach when he's unable to perform. And so it's a squad game. If Everton want to consistently challenge, like they've done for 6/10 of this season, 60% of the time, they were thereabouts until sort of like February, March.
Absolutely.
If they want to carry on and improve on that, they need to strengthen their squad. They need to get greater numbers in terms of quality in that team.
And certainly you back this manager because he is an experienced head and a show that he's well capable, especially for...
He's bigger than the club, let's be honest. Carlo Ancelotti is bigger than Everton.
To be fair, he certainly is. And so if they back him, Everton will be a force to reckon with. Your Premier League weekend fixtures look like this. Newcastle will take on West Ham. Wolves entertain Sheffield United. Arsenal take on Fulham at the Emirates, while Manchester United take on Burnley. Burnley. It's Everton versus Tottenham tonight, as we've been talking about. The fact that we haven't spoken about the other clubs in action means that there's FA Cup semi-finals and there is an absolute dream tomorrow night at Wembley. Dreams of a continental and domestic double will end for Chelsea or Manchester City this weekend as the two sides lock horns in tomorrow's FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. Both clubs booked their spots in the semi-final of the Champions League in midweek as Thomas Tuchel's men overcame Porto 2-1 on aggregate, while Pep Guardiola's quarterfinal hoodoo ended with a dominant 4-2 success over 2 legs against Borussia Dortmund. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says his side are in a good mental state ahead of their clash against Chelsea tomorrow after qualifying for the semi-finals of the Champions League.
It's much easier. Imagine play that game after not qualifying for the semi-final of the Champions League. Will be tougher. So, of course, I would love to have more days. First to enjoy our qualification a little bit and have time to recovery and to prepare better the game. But the schedule is the schedule, and when you are in contender in no competition so far, so you have this handle this schedule. There's no complaints at all. Today's guys training well, and tomorrow we're going, to face one of the best teams in Europe without discussion and try to do good performance to reach the final.
Surely, guys. And what we don't know is who's going to prevail in this match. But you got to think to yourself, with the quadruple still on, with Manchester City's form, it's hard to bet against them, Chris.
It's hard to bet against Manchester City, but that Chelsea side is also looking really good, looking incredible. I think Thomas Tuchel has come in and done what we expected from the squad that had been assembled before his arrival. And those two sides coming up against each other, I think it's going to be a tasty affair.
A very tasty affair. The other semi-final in the FA Cup is Leicester City taking on the Saints, Southampton.
The league that makes football oh so beautiful, where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day, where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic. All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
Let's take you into Spain now. Copa del Rey final this weekend. The two most successful teams in the history of the Copa del Rey will meet in the final tomorrow night as Athletic Club take on Barcelona. Athletic, who lost the 2020 final to Real Sociedad earlier this month, have won this competition on 23 occasions, while Barca have lifted the famous trophy 30 times throughout their history. Mike, we don't necessarily look at form when it comes to a cup final like this, but it's hard to deny that Barcelona are on a run and Athletic Club on the complete other side of the spectrum.
Well, we expect a game where Barcelona will dominate possession. Barcelona will do all the playing, and then Athletic Club will try and hit them on the break, using the likes of Muniain on the offensive transition. So it's all about whether Athletic Club can capitalize on the mistakes that Barcelona can make defensively. But if Barcelona play at their best, at their optimum, and are able to get an early goal especially, then you can only see one winner in this one. And of course, Barcelona also realizing that this could be their only chance of winning silverware. They're not guaranteed winning the league. The league right now is a 3-way horse race, and so they'll go all out just to make sure that at the end of the season, at least they have got the King's Cup.
Yeah, that silverware is absolutely critical for Barcelona, Barry. But if you take a look at their last performance against Real Madrid, would they be going into this a little less confident?
No, I think they'll certainly take confidence from that performance against Real Madrid, because you look at when Madrid went ahead, Barcelona was able to bounce back, and right at the end there, hitting the crossbar was very unlucky for them, but they could have easily gotten a 2-all draw out of El Clasico or even won the match. So I think they'll say to themselves, it's not a disaster. They'll get a bounce going into the Copa del Rey final. And then also, if you look at Barcelona's season as a whole, it's certainly been recovered. They're in the conversation for the championship, and they're in the final of the Copa del Rey. It's a fine season.
Some more La Liga weekend La Liga weekend fixtures for you this week. Also soon to take on Real Sociedad versus Sevilla. Alaves will take on Huesca. Atletico Madrid versus Aiba. Cadiz versus Celta Vigo. Real Betis will be up against Valencia. Getafe versus Real Madrid, and Levante take on Villarreal.
Right, let's give you the rest of European fixtures, starting in Italy, where there's a big game that could dictate whether the likes of Juventus and AC Milan are able to crawl their way back into the title hunt, because Inter Milan are up against Napoli. They win that one, they'll be almost home. They lose it, it'll open the door slightly for the chasing pack. Your weekend fixtures, the key ones this weekend in Italy: AC Milan versus Genoa. Juventus themselves, they have a tough one away to Atalanta. Torino will take on Roma, and of course that big one, Napoli versus Internazionale. Over to Germany, where Bayern Munich will be looking to close in on the Bundesliga title when they travel to Wolfsburg tomorrow. It's all about staying ahead for Hansi Flick's side, who are 5 points clear off the table. But chasers, Red Bull Leipzig, they entertain Hoffenheim. Borussia Mönchengladbach versus high-flying Eintracht Frankfurt, who are trying to cling to a Champions League place, and Borussia Dortmund will take on Werder Bremen. Over in France, it's Lille versus Montpellier, PSG versus Saint-Etienne, Reims versus Metz, and it's Nantes who take on Lyon.
We're out of time. Have a fantastic weekend. It's a bit of a long one, so hopefully you will enjoy it. We'll catch you on Tuesday. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.